I am joined here by a special guest, Jessica Renee Grant. We are going to jump into all things. First of all, do y'all see how cute she looks? I had to put on a little something silky, so I felt like I could, hold my own with the boutique owner extraordinaire. So Jessica, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the people, who you are, what you do, and then we're going to jump into it.
Okay, so what's up, everybody? First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I was like, I got to make this happen.
I appreciate you.
2022 is going to be a different year. Mm-hmm. And so it's going to require a new level of doing things. And so I was like, yeah, we're gonna work this thing out, make it happen.
Yes.
But I am Jessica Renee. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, a mother of 3 that keep me busy, a wife. He keeps me busy. But the one thing that I am evolving into is your business bestie, is what I like to call myself. So I talk about the shift a lot. So I'm shifting into this new transition phase of my life, and I'm Coach Jess, your business's bestie, and I help faith-based entrepreneurs to build brand and grow their business, and also helping them to navigate through the shift of becoming that's my word, becoming purposed. Mm-hmm. So it's like we're put here for a particular reason, and we just have to figure out what that reason is. Mm. And as an entrepreneur, your purpose is directly tied to what it is that you're going to be doing in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And there's a transition where you're like, should I go here? Should I not? And as a woman, there's so many other roles that people put on us. And it's like, well, how do I juggle this? How do I juggle being a mom, a mother, a sister, a best friend, and all of these other things everybody wants me to be, but still go out and walk into what I'm fully purposed to do in entrepreneurship, being, a boss, a P31 woman is what I call it, the virtuous woman. Mm-hmm. So that's just a little about me in a nutshell. I really hate talking about myself, honestly.
Well, listen, we're going to talk about you this whole episode, so I hope you get a little bit more comfortable with it. You need a drink or something?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
So let's talk about becoming. I love that word, and I want to know from your perspective, what does that mean to you?
Becoming is evolution. And so when you think of becoming in context, it's almost describing a journey. You're coming from one place in your life and you're entering into a new space. And most people don't think about what does that in-between space look like? What does that transition space look like? And so for me, it's very important that I help other women to navigate through that area. What does becoming look like? What does that look like for yourself? What does that look like in your business? What does it look like at home? What does it look like as a part of your lifestyle? And how do you make sure you can get through that sanely? Mm-hmm. Because there's so many different transitions that happen within it. Like if you think about a shift, it's not a continuous movement. It's almost like, like you're. Mm-hmm. And so we have to know at each point, how do we restructure ourselves, or how are we making sure that we're filled, or how are we making sure that we're staying on track as we're becoming this person who God has given us the vision that we're supposed to be, the person that you're purposed to be.
Now, does the becoming journey ever end?
It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. It ends when we take our last breath. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that we are an evolving creature. Mm-hmm. So we continuously evolve. And once you reach one level, then there's another level that we have to go to. I like to refer to like Mario Brothers,
Yes.
So you have this one level. I felt like there were, have you ever been
endless
Mario
levels?
Brothers?
No.
Me either. Like you died before you could ever finish the levels. And I think God put us here we're creators. So we're supposed to continuously reproduce. But in order to do that, we have to be able to shift with the changes. We have to be able to navigate through that. So we're always becoming. And once you reach that first level, there's another level. Okay, now I have to go to the next one. It's like each one sets you up for the next. You really should leave this earth depleted.
So the shifts essentially help us along the journey to becoming.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
Exactly.
How many shifts have you experienced thus far?
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. We just talked about this because I'm writing a book about my shifts and how all of this came about. And so I'll start from the point where I decided, I was like, I know God didn't just put me here just to be a wife and a mother. Like, I had no other identity besides that. I didn't know who I was, anything like that. And so I started to resent my family.
Wow.
Because they were living their best grand life. Everybody was happy, doing the things that they loved, and I wasn't. And I was like, I feel like I'm just the person who helps you all get to where you need to be or do the things that you need to do, but what about me? And so I started to go into a deeper thought of really building a relationship with God and saying, who did you create me to be? Like, why am I here? Because, you know, I like this thing, out of all the millions of eggs my mom has, like, I was one of the chosen.
Right.
So what is my purpose here? Like, I know it's not just to have these children and take them to school and all of that and be here to assist my husband. That's a part of it, but what is my purpose? And so that started, like, I call that my major shift into seeking that out. And so I literally found that really through building a relationship with God. And then there's the shift of becoming just a hairstylist to now a salon owner. And then from just a salon owner to now a highly sought out educator in the world of cosmetology, teaching on all these major platforms. And then it went from that to God saying, shut it all down. After 18 years, like, close your books. You will not do this anymore. Like, okay, what? I'm a hairstylist. Like, that's like the dope game. It's hard to get out because the money is so good.
Right.
But he's like, nah, you're done. Like, move on. And then to become a full-time boutique owner and now coach. So there's been many shifts in the last 4 years for me.
Yeah, that seems to be a theme. And we, I talked about this with another guest, and the shifts that take place, right? Just your journey. I, of course, as well have had many shifts in my corporate career and now in my career as an entrepreneur. I shut my business down a couple months ago and have not come back out just yet.
Yeah.
But thinking about that process, right? When God told you to shut it down, how were you feeling?
Honestly?
Yes.
I was like, this is my language with God. Yo, God, wait a minute. You want me to do what now? Like, shut it down. Okay, I don't think I heard you. Like, do what now? Shut it down. And I always say, God, you got to throw a brick at my head. Like, I got to know this is you because you asking me to do something like major.
Yeah.
And he literally showed me someone, like I was just scrolling on Instagram. A person popped up and it was just one little caption that caught my eye. It was like, my employees are always saying I don't work because I like to have fun. And I started laughing. I'm like, they always tell me that, like I play too much, you know? And I said, well, let me see who this person is. And the person ended up having the same exact name. Her name was Jessica Renee. And I was like, interesting. So I'm still looking. And I see she did like this little video with her most influential people. And so 3 out of her 4 were my influential people too, but really caught my eye was Madam C.J. Walker. And I was like, well, she a boutique owner. Like, why is Madam C.J. Walker influential? And I was like, oh, well, maybe because she was the first Black woman millionaire. Okay, that makes sense. And so I'm watching and she goes, you know, most of you already know I used to be a hairstylist and I left the industry to become a boutique owner. I literally threw my phone, promise to God, no lie. Like, I threw the phone because it freaked me out so bad.
Talk about a brick.
Yes. And God was like, you asked for a brick and I gave you one.
Yes.
And so that was the start of it. And at April 19th of 2021, I was laying, we were actually at a football game in Charlotte. Well, I was not at the game, but there for a football game. And I woke up and my husband laying beside me and me and God had that conversation. He was like, shut your books down. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, God. I mean, I love you, but I can't do that. Like, and he was like, no, shut it down. And then the one few little words, do you trust me? And I was like, dang. Oh, yeah, you can't, you either gonna say yes or no. And I felt like at this time, if I said no, I was Big Judas around here. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, all right. And I shut everything down. I hadn't even talked to my husband yet. And I was like, well, God, you got to handle this situation. You told me to do it. So you gonna handle this over here when I have to tell him I'm not doing this anymore. And when I told him, he was like, all right, I got you. If God, that's what God told you to do. And I was like, well, Okay, well, that was the hard part, really. Telling him, yeah, so I'm not doing this anymore. And then going into it, and he said, let the salon go too. And so I had my salon manager who was with me since the salon first opened. I'm talking about the only one who was in there with me pulling 24-hour shifts, getting everything together, like literally operated the salon like it was hers. And a lot of things that I was able to do was because of her. And so, you know, me and her talked about taking it over and what the percentages things were going to look like. And God said, no, you're going to give it to her.
Wow.
And so I said, say what now? Like, God, come on now. And he said, give it to her. And that's what I did. And he said, I need you to leave completely.
Yeah. Do you regret anything about that?
I don't. I really don't. Because now I just feel like maybe the building of the salon and all of that was for her. Maybe it wasn't, you know, I was just the person who God used to bless her. And so when you look at it like that, you don't miss it. You're like, okay, I understood the assignment. That's what purpose is, understanding the assignment. I understood the assignment. Okay, well, what's next then?
So let's dig into the shift. You shut down the salon. You gave it to your salon manager. What were you then doing? Like, what did that period look like for you?
Running a boutique full time, and it was strictly online. And within a few months of that, I get a brick and mortar. Like, everything just kind of flowed. And when people are like, how did that happen? I'm like, I'm telling y'all. Like, I have to start off with saying God, because it was crazy. And crazy for me is something that is unexplainable. Like, it's humanly impossible for it to happen. And for those events to happen, me just starting in April, and then by November, I'm in a brick and mortar, like crazy. And it has been doing good ever since. So now I'm not even really scared about anything, because as long as I'm operating in my obedience, I know everything that I need is going to be provided.
So the start of the boutique, had you ever run a boutique before?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I started a boutique in 2018, and it closed as quickly as it opened.
Why? Why do you think that was?
Just had a vision and then just moved on it. I did not take the time to make a plan. I did not do any research, study. I didn't get under the tutelage of anybody. I knew nothing about the business. I was just like, oh, people say I dress nice. Well, instead of me sending them to everybody else's store, why don't I do this? And in the hair industry, they were teaching everyone, like, have your 7 figures. Like, the hair industry will have you. So
in the chokehold.
Listen. And so I was like, okay, here's another stream of income. But no one said that, yeah, you need to have these streams of income, but you need to steward and govern over these streams well. You need to steward and govern over your business as well. That wasn't taught. And so I opened it up and I sold a few things, and it just got too much doing that and still doing hair and still educating. And I didn't know who my target audience was. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to find whatever was cheap. Oh yeah, let me buy this cheap, then I can sell it cheap, and then somebody gonna buy it. So I was all off. Like, that it wasn't meant to stay open. And, you know, people say, did you make money? I don't know. Like, I wasn't even keeping track. Everything went to the same pile of money. I didn't have money to re-up inventory because it wasn't separate. It was ghetto.
Okay.
That's the best way to put it.
And so now you're living in the suburbs?
Yeah.
The new boutique is in the suburbs?
Yes.
Okay.
It's in the suburbs.
Okay. And so what were some of the lessons, right? You shared some of them as far as commingling funds, right? Buying cheap and thinking that you could sell cheap and just have that be the way that you were going to be successful. What were some of the biggest lessons that you took from that prior experience to now opening up and running your boutique that you have now?
Do not rush. That was one of the major lessons. Do not rush. Everything has to be intentionally planned.
Can you say that again?
Everything has to be intentionally planned.
And then run it back to the do not rush part?
Do not rush.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
So that was the biggest issue. And when it circled back around this time, you know, I kind of fought it because I was hurt from the first time. I was like, this didn't do good the first time. So how do I think it's going to do good again? And God said, just listen to me. This time you're going, what did you do wrong? So I literally had to sit down and basically reminisce on the whole process and become a student and take notes on every single thing I did wrong. And then it was like, okay, just do the opposite of that. So the first thing was to get educated. Well, before educated, what does my vision look like? Where do I see this boutique going? What do I see this business doing for me? Because I think a lot of people don't think about that. What do you want that business to do for you? Because it serves a purpose for you as well, not just your constituent. And then it's like, who am I going to serve? And, you know, where's this going? So getting that, then I said, okay, let's do the research, because now I need to build out the plan according to the vision. So what are the things and what are the steps that I need to do to put those in place? I did that. I got educated. I joined coaching groups. I did a boot camp, everything to really build myself and put myself in a position to be able to be the person who's able to run a business of that caliber. And so that made the whole process really easy. It took me about 4 months, but the latter 8 months were absolutely amazing versus when I tried to put something together in 2 weeks and rush it, it was closed literally 3 months. I mean, I literally just gave away the clothes that I had from the first boutique. I donated it to a women's shelter.
Nice.
Because I still had so much inventory. And I was like, you know what? No. It's like, you can sell that. No, we're not going to sell it. We're just going to donate this to the women's shelter. We're starting fresh over here.
So a couple questions, because you talked about like designing this business, right? And intentionally designing this business. When you were a hairdresser, right? When you had the hair salon, do you feel like, or do you know that business was designed around the life that you wanted?
It actually was.
Okay.
And that was the crazy thing. And it was like, why do you think because the industry changed, the structure changes? Business is business. And it was almost like if I could imagine God looking down on me, he was like, girl, it's the same thing. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? And having failed was my realization, like, wait, I did this before. Like, because I've been evicted out of a salon before and took a 2-year hiatus, and I had to come back to it because, you know, when God said you ain't finished, you ain't finished. Had to come back to it, but I came back in the right way. And so he said, in decency and order was the words that he spoke. And if you don't have your business in decency and order, then I can't bless it to the capacity that it deserves to be blessed. And so I started to get my business in line. And the salon was literally designed around the type of stylist I wanted to work in there and the type of clients that I wanted to receive. Everything from the colors, the furniture that was picked out, having Wi-Fi, it was designed around those people because I needed to be able to live a certain lifestyle. And financially, I wanted to make a certain amount of money. And so I knew what audience would be able to provide that. And so the business had to be built around that. And so it was like, you just take the same concept and put it over here in this industry.
Right.
And so in the part of the growing with that, the shifting in that, I took the same concepts from being a salon owner and how I conducted that and put it into the boutique as well. And I'm like, oh, this does work. And that's how, you know, the shift, we started with the shift, and then we have the blueprint, which is you got to plan, prepare, position, and then you have to have a strategy, a structure, and systems in place for these things to happen. And it's literally, these are the things that you've been doing over and over and over again. And God's like, now you get it, girl.
Right.
Like, I gave you an entire system. And I like how you said design, because I'm a designer. I like to look at myself as an architect. And so a lot of the things that I speak in are in terms of building and designing, because that's what I do.
So with the boutique, What is a piece of advice that you would give someone that is starting a boutique today, right? Of course, they don't have your experience, your knowledge and things like that, but what are 3 things that you would tell somebody starting a boutique or any business for that matter? Because a lot of this, like you just said, it translates from business to business is business, essentially, right? What are 3 things that you wish you knew before you got started?
The very first thing is clarity. Having clarity in what it is that I was doing, why I was doing it, and how I was going to do it. The second thing would be I would put plan and prepare together, put the plan out, and then start preparing my things that I need. Like, do you need to hire a coach? Do you need to take business classes? What resources are you going to need? How are you going to fund this business? Figuring out who your market is, where, I have the 5 W's, the who, what, where, when, and why. All of that is piled into your plan and prepare. And then the third thing would be to be in position. A lot of people miss their opportunity because you simply aren't in position to be able to receive it.
And how do you get in position?
From planning and preparing and having clarity, and then you're in position. So basically, how can I put an example? Okay, prime example. When I went to Impact, I started not to go.
Why?
Because I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just too much. I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm not going to go. And then it was like, no, you need to go. And so being in position is understanding that you have everything already together, right? You've planned, you've prepared, you're clear on what it is you're doing. So if you think about position, it requires an action, the movement. So you have to take action in it. So I took action into going to Build to Impact. And there I met some amazing women, my business besties. I've learned so much. My mindset has changed from I'm going to do it on a small scale to no, this thing is bigger than that. And if I had not gone, a lot of the things that are coming out now they would have still been laying dormant. But I had all of the other components, but I just needed to be in position. I had to take the action. And a lot of people don't take the action.
And why do you think that is? I mean, I know similar to you, like, this past weekend I attended an event and initially I'm like, oh, I don't have to go. I was a speaker. Our session was pre-recorded, but something was like, no, you need to go. You need to be there. And it was an awesome experience from the networking component, from, it's something about being in person with people. Like even you being here is different from us being on a computer and having this interview, right? So what was it that was holding you back? Was it you just didn't feel like it? You had a lot of life stuff going on, but the family and the kids. What was it, and what helped you to move?
It was fear. And the life stuff with the family and the kids is supported by the fear because it gave me a cop-out. Oh, no, well, who's going to take the kids to school and who's going to do this? And so, no, I just need to be here. And so using the family as a crutch because I was afraid to move further. And when God gives you a vision, right, it's a vision that you can't even really comprehend because he operates exceedingly abundantly. Like everything is so great and above all that we can ask or think of. And so when you see it, you like, not me, wrong person, God. And you become fearful of that because we're thinking about operating in our own capacity, like doing it by yourself, when it was never meant for you to do it by yourself. And I understood the transition that would happen. I understood that me making the move to go to Impact was literally telling myself that I was ready for everything that was to come. And I was afraid of that. Like the imposter syndrome sets in. Like, are you really that girl? Like, can you really help people? Will this boutique really last? And you start like doubting yourself. And then you got to snap out of it. You got to talk to yourself. That's why it's important to have people who are surrounded by you. And a lot of my friends were like, girl, if you don't go, like.
You had already paid for your ticket?
I already paid for my ticket, airline ticket, booked my hotel, everything.
And you were not going to go?
And I wasn't going to go. And then I'm like, I got to go by myself. Like, I'm not going to know anybody. And it was like, no, you got to get out of your comfort zone. I'm putting you in a place where you're going to be uncomfortable, where you're going to really have to dig deep within you and come out this shell and this wall that you've built up over years. And I'm glad I did it. Like now I'm like, okay, I'm glad you did it
too. Yes. I'm going to steal this question from one of my girls, Aquia Robinson. She also has a podcast. She likes to open her podcast with this question. Or maybe she closes it. What's the last time that you did something for the first time?
That's a good question. The last time I did something for the first time.
Because, we're speaking about you showing up to Impact. You had everything ready. It's like you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And that's what that question really gets to. So what's the last time you did something for the first time?
I started my YouTube channel.
Okay. When? Recently?
Yep. We have 2 videos up so far. And that's something, even he's on me all the time about it. And it's something supposed to happen 4 years ago. And I was just like, no, because then I got to show up in front of the camera and I got to talk. And then people going to look at it. And then what are they going to say? And so this year I said, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to put it out there. And we got over 100 followers. And I was like,
nice.
Yeah. But that was the last time I did something for the first time.
And when you were doing that, right? Sometimes, I'm glad you pointed it out. So her assistant is over here. He got the camera up. He's getting some behind the scenes, right? Sometimes people see for us things that we don't see for ourselves, right? Yeah. How long had you been telling her to start the YouTube channel? So it had been years. Let's just say, you said 4 years? So for 4 years, you set on this idea, right? Not thinking back to like what would happen if you started it 4 years ago. But sometimes I often wonder, everything happens in divine time. Right. I truly believe that. Everything happens in divine time. Maybe you weren't ready for it. Maybe it wasn't the right time, whatever. But sometimes when I sit and reflect, I think of the things that people have said to me, right? And they're like, oh, you should have did this, or you'll be great at that. Is there anything else that you are thinking about or that people have said to you in the past that maybe you want to get started with now rather than later, sooner rather than later? And you're smiling because I know there's something. Y'all must have talked about this.
The podcast.
Okay.
The podcast. When I do lives a lot, and I have been asked for years, like, why don't you start a podcast? And I'm like, no, because that would require me to be dedicated to yet another thing. And I was like, I don't feel like it. Everything, I don't feel like it. And so I kind of started developing it, and then it just, and I've had the equipment for a long time, about 3 years. And I got cover art done this year. And I was just like, it's still not feeling well. I don't like it. And I did my first podcast interview actually in my boutique. Someone came and I was on their podcast. And we were just talking. And she was like, what are you waiting on? And I was like, well, because then she was like, Like she literally took away every excuse. And then he goes in my calendar. You're going to do your intro by this day. You're going to do this by this day. And I'm just like, okay. And every time I walk in the store, did you record today? Did you do this today? Did you do that today? And I said, you know what? I said, you're the best person that I hate so much. I was like, you get on my nerve. And it was supposed to be the irregular girl, but it just didn't feel good. And then clarity and shifting into all of this and becoming and purpose and the shift and all of that. And I was just sitting at my computer last Friday. Last Friday. And the guy was like, you need to go design this shirt. No, that was Sunday. And I was like, nah, it's Sunday. I'm tired. Like, no, get up and go do this. So I got up and I went and started playing around with some designs for purpose. And then I started going, well, what does that mean? Like, okay, God, you're giving me this word, but what is purpose? So I go into, meditation on it. Like, you gotta get this to me. Like, I need to be clear on it. And then, you know how the little thing, I understood the assignment that popped into my head. And I was like, yo, that's exactly what it is. Literally, like understanding the assignment. And I said, but purpose is past tense. I'm very, very analytical, like theoretical thinker.
What's your sign?
Taurus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you like my husband.
And I was like, okay, but purpose is past tense. And then I said, so, you know, we talking about walking in purpose, which is presence, but purpose, God, is past tense. So what does that mean? And he was like, go back to Jeremiah 29:11. He already knew the plans that he had for us. That's past tense, which means, and he said, I already knew you before you were even created in your mother's womb. That's past tense. So he said, your purpose isn't anything new. Your purpose was already created. It was just waiting for you to take action. So once you take action, you are becoming purposed. And I was like, yo, God, okay. That's it. And then as I started really just like honing in on that, I was like, the Purpose Podcast, She's Purposed Podcast. And I was like, that's it. That feels good. Like that embodies everything, who I am, what I speak about. I said, we can talk about life and being married and children and business. It doesn't limit me to just one thing. And I said, all right, this is it. And I actually had my first taping for that tomorrow, but she had to reschedule. So it's going to be the following Tuesday. And I was like, it's crazy because this is the third podcast interview I've been asked on. So before that, I've never been asked on any podcast to come and speak on any podcast. And now it's just like people reaching out. And God is like, you remember you said you need bricks, right?
I was about to say, that's a brick.
Yeah.
Listen,
He said, I'm
1,
giving
2,
you
3.
bricks. Yep. I'm giving you bricks. So
I love that. So I was not going to press you like, when's the podcast coming out? Because in my iPhone, I have a note from 2018 when I had my podcast, like my first initial podcast idea. Now we're in, what's this, 2021? No, 20, look.
Yeah. The
What's
pandemic.
today? What's today? We're in 2022, right? And so the vision didn't become clear to me. I'm similar to you in that if it doesn't feel right, I'm not going to do it, right?
Right.
Unless there's that instance where God is like, no, you got to move.
Exactly.
Right? So I had in my notes and I was going through it when I was getting ready to record season 1 for this podcast. And I looked back and I was like, I had an idea for 2018 for the podcast. So I understand that whole process that you have to go through. And like when it feels right, it connects and it feels right. Right. And I went through a similar journey with the name for this podcast because I forget what the name was initially, but it just didn't feel right. Right. So I love that. And I love that you shared that. So by the time this airs, your podcast will be up and running.
It will be up and running.
All right. It will be up and running.
Yes.
So let's talk now about coaching. How is that? Like, how did you even get into that space? And you talked a little bit about like the imposter syndrome. Will I be able to help these people?
Right.
Am I even good enough? Talk to me about that shift and why you wanted to become a coach.
So, when you are gifted for something, you've already been doing it, but you just didn't know it. And so I think, coaches, educators, leaders, teachers, ministers, it's a certain gift that you've been given. And I would do it inside of my salon with those people just because that's what I naturally do. Didn't even look at it as coaching. And then someone noticed it and was like, you need to teach. And I was like, no, I'm good.
Somebody else seeing it.
Seeing it. And they was like, no. And I was like, no, because I'm the person, like, I'm in the back of the room. I'm not talking to anybody. If I have to talk, armpits are sweating. I'm super nervous. So people were like, really? And I'm like, yeah, go check me out like 4 years ago. Like what y'all see now is not what it used to be.
Becoming, right?
Yes. And so just starting to teach. And then the coaching component came in where a lot of people actually they saw the growth. They saw the journey and the transitions. And it's like, hey, can you help me with that? And then I'm like, I just kind of just do this for people, but turn this into a business? Like what? And as I kind of did it, on the low key side, free 99 most of the time, 99 cents the rest of the time. I saw the impact and the growth that people made. And I said, okay, well, let's figure out how to do this. And that was me coming to Impact. I said, I've educated myself on everything else besides being a coach. I took a class to become a certified coach, but it just teaches you how to coach. It doesn't go into the business of coaching.
Right.
And that's what I was missing. And so making that and just seeing how that operated in the capacity, it put together a lot of missing components that I didn't have, that probably kept me from really putting it out there. And so now I'm just like, yeah, it's Coach Jess. What's up? How can I help you? You know, and anytime I'm like, can I do this? God always says, go back and look at your track record. Or somebody will drop a comment or something. And, you know, I went to college and I have a degree in experimental psychology. And I used to be like, this was such a waste of money. Like, I'm not even doing anything. And then now I'm here in this position and I'm like, okay, God, I see you.
And psychology is so integral in marketing as well. Like the way you use psychology in marketing is so very important. That's one of my favorite things to teach and study and just use when I'm working with clients as well, because people don't really understand how psychology impacts people's behaviors, right, and actions and things like that. So that's phenomenal. Like you are using your degree.
Exactly.
So I want to shift gears here. I want to ask you, do you believe in balance?
No.
Why?
I don't believe that in the way that I think of balance. I don't think that there could be a balance. I believe in priorities. And it's probably because of my thought process. When I think of balance, there's like two things in there, they're even. When you have a life that has so many different components in it and compartments, you can't give the same amount of time, energy, or anything to two different things. So in my mind, balance may look like this may be really heavy here, but I have 6 or 7 things on the other side. That may balance out, but it's really prioritizing. And so one of the best things that I've learned, especially with my family, how do you balance your family and your business? I don't balance, I prioritize. So I ask my kids, you know, what does quality time look like with me? Because usually we tend to give more than what is required anyway, because we feel like we're supposed to.
Wow.
And so, you know, of course, with my daughter, I get Target list every day. So it's me and her going out shopping, and then she likes to cuddle. Like she has to get in the bed and we put on a movie. So I make sure I give her those things that she needs. So I don't have to be with her all the time. I just need to make sure I'm giving her what she needs. My son, my oldest son, come and hug him. Like I'll let him hug me. And then he's gone. Like he doesn't require much at all. And he's like, almost like my husband, just let me know when you're not going to be here in advance. So I can prepare my mind. Like that's literally all he requires, and make sure there's food in the house.
Got it.
And then my middle son, he just, whatever you do, Mom. Like he doesn't require a whole lot, but he's the middle child. So, you know, doing special things with him, like if I pick him up early, just me and him go get something to eat. And then with my husband is making sure every night I'm not doing something. So now I literally have work hours. I shut it down at night, but I'm like, you got to give me like 1 night, maybe 2. Right. And he was like, all right, I can do that.
Right.
And so I figured out everything that they needed from me, and I give them what they need. And if I give more, it's because I want to, not that I feel like I'm required to. And that's how it works. So this is what needs my priority right now in this moment. And like my other son, I can't miss a game. Like he might give me 1 or 2 a year, but when it comes to them and having a track meet, a football game or something, and me having to do something for business, they always win in that instance. I had a retreat. When was that retreat? In February? Yes. And my daughter had a gymnastics meet, and I did not know. I was like, oh my gosh. So you know what I did? I relocated the retreat because it was enough time to the same location as the gymnastics meet. I had one of my team members start the session off. I went, watched her gymnastics meet, and came back.
Nice.
And so it's
priorities. Yeah. You said something so profound. Oftentimes we give more than what's required of us. Have you always operated with giving what is required, or was there a time when you were giving more than what was required?
I was giving more than what was required. So it was a discipline. I had to learn how to give what they needed. And I think it's this thing I like to call false perceptions of identity that we get from society. And depending on who you're surrounded by or how you grew up, they tell you, you know, no, you got to be at home all the time. And it's just your kids and husband. You can't do anything else. And so I thought if I wasn't giving all of me and more than what I even had to give, I wasn't being a good mother or I wasn't being a good wife. But really, I wasn't being a good person to myself. And so I had to literally learn how to just give what they need and be okay with that in myself.
How many years married this year?
16.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
16
Oh, so I'm
years.
fresh in the game.
Yeah.
So this will be our 3-year anniversary.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would love, this is for selfish reasons. What's your biggest piece of advice for marriage and also building businesses?
Communication. And people throw that around like communicate. But no, effective communication. When I first started, I didn't involve him. It was just me making all the decisions. He didn't know what was going on. And what I didn't know is I was making him feel like an outsider. I was making him feel like I was growing and I was leaving him where he was because I wasn't including him in on the growth and the evolution of me becoming. And so that was something that I had to be responsible for and take. I was like, dang, yeah, that's me. Because we came to a point where we didn't even know if we were going to continue the marriage because we've been together since high school. So married 16 years, but altogether, I think 22 years we've been together. And so you got to grow up with each other. And so now here we are literally becoming an adult. Like, I don't think you really become a true adult to like, you start getting to mid-30s.
You in your 30s.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now it's like, whoa, this is not the same 17, 18-year-old kid that I knew before. And I'm not that same person. And of course I tried to be like, it's all you, but I had to take accountability for that. And so, you know, including him in on the process, because he very much is a part of the process. And when I started doing that, man, everything was just like smooth. I mean, he helps out so much with the kids. Now it's like, I don't even have to choreograph the routines when I leave. So now I feel like, dang, what am I supposed to do? And like, I'll call him like, didn't I tell you I got this? Like, I got this. And I'm like, I'm just so used to. So now I have to learn how to let go and let him take on those things. But that was the most important thing. And then the communication, learning how to let you know how I feel without coming at you or without arguing about it, you know, dealing with my feelings first. Like, okay, what is, you're mad at him, but what are you really feeling? I miss you. Like, I just want to spend some time. So communicate that and not communicate the anger portion.
Right.
And that takes a lot. But once you get it, it's a beautiful thing. And the one thing that my aunt told me that was absolutely profound, she said, marriage is what you make of it. And we try to have this one fit mold of marriage. No, y'all got to do what works for the both of y'all. Right. Like, nobody else matters. Nothing anyone else says matters. It's just what works for us. That's what we do. And that's a game changer. That's
I love
a game
that.
changer.
I love that. 16 years, y'all.
16
That is
years.
to be applauded.
Yes.
Okay.
Long 16 years.
A long, loving 16 years.
It was worth it. I do want to say this, that when you look at people who've been together that long, you think, oh my gosh, they must have had such an amazing marriage or relationship. No, they figured it out. Like, the more things you go through together and you get over them together, the stronger you'll get. So people have been married for 50, 60 years, you know, not because the relationship was great all the time. It was because they decided every day that we're going to recommit to each other and we're going to make this work. And that's a bond within itself.
Yes, the decision making is so important.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Jessica, this has been amazing.
Yes.
I want you to tell everyone what you have coming up and then how they can get in contact with you.
Okay, so we have two major live events coming up in September the 30th through October the 2nd. It'll be in Savannah, Georgia, and it's the I Am the Shift Retreat, Becoming Purposed. And so this retreat it's for faith-based entrepreneurs, and it's preparing yourself to be the person who's able to lead the business that you are about to build or the business that you are currently building. I have a saying, if you ain't right, your business ain't right.
That's true.
And if we are the think tank, if we are the creators of this thing, whatever we have going on within ourselves is going to flow over into our businesses. So it's important to make sure just as much time you invest in your business and the structures for that, you have to do the same thing for yourself as a leader in that business. So we're going to retreat. We're going to build ourselves. We're going to get over some fears. It's going to be an absolute amazing time. And then the Power of the Shift retreat, that is going to be December the 1st through the 4th. It's in Columbia, South Carolina. And that's going to be all about your business, baby. Like getting your systems, structures, and strategies in place, learning how to plan, prepare, and position. And basically, we are going to design your blueprint for you to have a sustainable and profitable business. So those are the two major things. You can follow me at the Jessica Renee. That's TheJessicArenee on Instagram, really on all platforms. TikTok, you know, I'll be on the TikTok scene.
Okay, I gotta check
Facebook,
you out.
You can follow me there. And then we have some smaller things coming up, master classes, brunches, some accelerator programs, mentorship groups. So make sure you follow. You can click that link, thejessicarenee.com/links. Join the email besties. That's the best way for you to be able to keep up with what we have going on and get inspired at the same time, because we just don't ask you for something all the time. We're going to give, and then we'll ask you for something, because this is a business.
Yes. So we're going to make sure to have all the links down in the show notes for you all to follow. Jessica, thank you so much. Again, this has been awesome. And it's time for you to celebrate, girl.
Yes. Flirty 40.
All right, y'all. That's it for this episode, and we will see you next time.